Welcome into the Inquirer podcast. It is Jeremy Werner, Kyle Tausk here with our first post-game podcast of the season with Illinois basketball as the Illini take care of business quickly, 113-55, defeat Jackson State. This was a quick one. Illinois up 30-6 within the first 7 minutes. Didn't matter, Kyle, that they were down a couple men, and you and Joey were down a guy today. I had surgery on the hand today. Don't get old, Kyle. You start to get things like trigger fingers and bursa sack things that I'm getting with the body as I get to near 40 here. But easy peasy for Illinois tonight as the front court absolutely dominated. We'll get into that. Tommy Ivicic, 21 points. Ben Rickhouse, 21 points off the bench. David Mirkovic in the starting lineup, 19 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists. He continues to be a star, but Keaton Waggler, 18 points. Jake Davis, his Illini high, 13. Kylan Boswell, 10, 5, and 5. And this one was over before you blinked. I mean, 2 timeouts into this game, it was already over. So we'll get into our hits and misses, Kyle. What was it like being in the building tonight?
It's great to have a regular season crowd and watch a regular season college basketball game. And man, yeah, Illinois got off to a quick start. Not the finest 3 keys in a pick debut for me, only predicting a 35-point win. Should have almost doubled that and I would have been closer. But no, just a great performance for an Illinois team that was undermanned. And we got the news before the game that Brandon Lee was also out. He was on crutches in a walking boot. Brad Underwood said he rolled his ankle pretty bad yesterday in practice after we talked to Brad. So just another injury on the mounting injury report for this team early in the season, which is a miss that I'm sure we'll get to later on. But yeah, Illinois Jackson State was no match for the size and skill on this Illinois team, and Illinois took it to them right away. Jackson State didn't get their first rebound until about 6 minutes in. 61-19 on the glass. That's exactly what you want to see against an opponent like this who just does not have the bodies to match up. And a heck of a three-point shooting night, too, for Illinois. Just a fast start and a team that, even though they were missing quite a few key guys, didn't look like they were missing a beat, looked like they were connected, looked like they had chemistry, and most of the guys that played tonight played really well. And so a nice confidence boosting start to the year for sure.
The hit is you have so much talent here. You have, especially against a team like this. You go against another team like Texas Tech, maybe you have issues. But the miss here tonight is that Brandon Lee is also hurt, that Andrei Stojakovic has not played yet. Brad told you guys he did practice this past week, but not a full practice. Sounds like they are being very cautious in the ramp up with Andrei Stojakovic. If you really had to have him, probably could have gone tonight. But what's the point against Jackson State? He doesn't need that. He's been part of college basketball for a long time here. Mihailo Petrovic, he said, is trending positively. That's a nice thing to hear, but re-aggravating an injury that was already there is never good. A hamstring for a guy who relies on speed is never great. And now you have Brandon Lee, who is going to be part of this rotation. So you had to play Blake Fladbemi tonight, which is great for Blake. That was a great storyline. Jason Jackson, 9 points in 11 minutes. Great to see those guys get some action and get some confidence. But Texas Tech is going to be here in 8 days, and you don't know if Stojakovic, what he's going to be. Petrovic, I have doubts of whether he'll be able to play by then. So it's just the injury bug is bitten Illinois the last couple of years, that's for sure. And you had 4 guys who are expected to be contributors on this team. Ty Rodgers is going to be out for a long time. Mihailo Petrovic, we don't know when he'll be back. Andrei Stojakovic, I think he'll be back soon, but to not have him in the opener, certainly longer than I thought he'd be out, Kyle. So that's the big miss tonight.
Yeah, no question. For Stojakovic to what seemed like when he initially went down with the injury in early September, that it was a pretty minor, cautious, nothing too big to worry about. Now is dragging on past 2 months and into the regular season. And for a guy like him, who's going to be such an important piece to this team, one of your highest minutes, highest usage guys in theory, we'll see how long it takes for him to actually get to that point when he does get back. But to not have him for this game, but also by the sounds of it, barely at all in practice, just started practicing, Brad said, this past week. And like you said, not full at all. So that really hurts this team to not have him even be able to suit up in some capacity in your season opener. You would like to just see him get on the floor, get his feet under him, play a live game, get a feel again for the game, speed, conditioning. You would hope to see him maybe try to give it a go at least a little bit on Friday night, just so that his first game back isn't that Texas Tech game on Tuesday with the talent they have. But that one is definitely concerning just because it's dragged on so long. Sounds like he is getting closer and closer, but they're being really cautious with it. And Petrovic, I agree with you. Just hearing that they felt like he had recovered and then he re-aggravated it, and it's a soft tissue injury, which is tricky. Hamstrings are really tricky. I definitely am not expecting to see him, definitely for Texas Tech, but I feel like that one could be a 2, 3, 4 week long type of deal where it's really slow. So, and to lose Brandon Lee, who was a guy who was going to get that opportunity with those guys out, and now you are really lacking for backcourt depth beyond Boswell and Waggler, your two starters. In fact, Bemi's the next guy up, and we saw him coming at the 14-minute mark of the first half. That's not a place that you want to be with Texas Tech coming to town a week from tomorrow. So that definitely hurts, and just to not be building the chemistry and not get all these guys. I mean, we see the skill, we see how many playmakers this team has, but you don't have everybody out there, and Stojakovic isn't getting out there and getting a feel for Mirkovic and all this stuff. So that definitely hurts, and it's a concern for sure, as you have 3 really, really good opponents in this month.
Yeah, thank goodness Keaton Waggler is as good as he is. Because if you would have told me Ty Rodgers, Andrei Stojakovic, and Mihailo Petrovic and Brandon Lee are all out right now, like what is that backcourt? So to have Waggler step up, to know that Colin Boswell can go 35 minutes is huge for this. All right, let's go to the hits, because there's so many hits in this game. Yeah, what all can we take from it? We can dive into that as we go through these, Kyle. But certainly a very positive performance when you win by 58 points in your opener. You double up the team you go against. As you said, 17 threes, one off this program record that they've ever had, to out-rebound 61-19. But I will let you lead. What is your biggest hit from this game?
I hate to start with the same one we've started from in the entire preseason, but David Mirkovic is really, really good. And you know what? I'll expand it to stray away from just saying him again, because we've seen it now. I think this front court is really, really good, and they showed that tonight. And I know Joey is going to have a piece on that, and some of the things Brad Underwood said about it, some of the things David and Benham Rickhouse, who played really well tonight, said about it. But man, this is a big, skilled front court that has a lot of different guys that can do a lot of different things. The fact that you can play David Mirkovic and Tomislav Ivisic together, 2 guys who are extremely comfortable with the ball in their hands, that can make things happen. I mean, it's hard to get a grasp against a team like Jackson State, who is so undersized, and it looks like men against boys out there, but there is just a ton of size and length. And I think it's a more physical front court than we probably gave it credit for coming into the season, just judging based on the bodies they have, the way they rebounded tonight. I just think it's really, really exciting, and they're going to be really hard to guard for Big Ten teams, for really good non-conference teams. I mean, that you can do so many different things when you have a guy like David Mirkovic. You can grab the ball off the rim, push it up the floor, always looking to pass. I mean, that's the thing that stands out to me about where he is right now, is just he gets the ball and his eyes are up the floor. He is looking where he can outlet the ball. He is always looking to read the floor, and he's just got such a great feel. And we know what Tommy can do. Tommy didn't have a great night decision making tonight, 4 turnovers, no assists, and felt like he forced it a little bit. Part of that's probably the rust of him having been out for a little while, but we know what he can do, and he knocked down 3 threes tonight. Benham Rickhouse, if he can shoot like this to space around those guys, 5 of 9 from 3, that's a great sign for him. Obviously, we'll have to keep doing that against better competition, but a great confidence builder. And Big Z didn't have the best night tonight, but we know how good of a shooter he can be. Jason Jackstis, just another guy to have as depth, who's physical, has gotten a lot more physical, 9 rebounds, gave you everything that you hoped from him. It is a deep, skilled, really, really exciting front court that I think could be one of the better ones in all of college basketball.
It is one of the best ones. Doesn't have a ton of athleticism, but ton of length, ton of skill, and I do think it's got some toughness and physicality. And Mirkovic, the skill anyone can see, and you think if this guy's 7 foot, Somebody asked, is he already on draft radars? I think he's going to be on draft radars with what he's doing. Again, got to show it, but we know he played well against Florida in that scrimmage, and he's not scared. The confidence, the swagger, the physicality, the toughness he is bringing. The hit I had is the European travel budget looks well worth it, Kyle. It just looks incredibly worth it right now with what you had tonight with Tomislav Ivicic. Oh, yeah, he's great. Just a great player. He's your best player. And, David Mirkovic might be one of your best players. Got to see it, but I'm not going to tell anybody that's excited about this kid not to be excited to be. Slow your horses. No, what he is doing is translatable because of the rebounding. I mean, 14 rebounds, that's effort, that's physicality, that's size. And you can see the skill. There are moments where I do think he gets sloppy, but I do love that he kind of ignites the transition game. He gets a rebound, pushes it up. I think sometimes in the second half, he got a little sloppy. And it wasn't just the underhand pass. That was bad. Don't want to do that very much. But there were times like he tried to push it in transition where he'd get the ball in the half court and like try to really push it up. And, smaller guards will get into, I think better teams can force some turnovers that way. But the confidence, the swagger, the toughness, the skill, it is all there. Like you can tell he's been watching Nikola Jokic. He's got some of that to his game. This looks like one of the best Illinois players. And you match that with Tommy. And then Benham Rickhouse coming off the bench to accept that, but to be comfortable and confident in it. This guy's going to make a big impact on your team. He can shoot the ball, and when he's confident, rebounding is going to be really, really important for him. But yes, that front court, 61 points between those three guys, 23 rebounds. They shot 10 of 19 from three. That's just a tough matchup because then you also got to deal with those guards, and when Stojakovic gets back, like Waggler can attack the rim, got fouled a bunch, got to the free throw line 10 times. Kylan can get to the rim and really create for his teammates. Just so much spacing, so much passing, so much size, and so much three-point shooting, Kyle. It's a fantastic front court, and I think it's going to be one of the best in the country. It's why I'm really high on this offense because how do you guard it? How do you guard those guys?
Yeah, Mirkovic is just a joy to watch. He just plays with so much personality and confidence. Definitely ambitious. The underhand pass was one that had everybody kind of laughing a little bit, except for Brad Underwood, who wasn't very happy with it. And in the post game, Benham Rickhouse goes, "You won't see that again." And then Mirkovic goes, "Well, I'll try not to do it again." So he's funny, and he's a heck of a player. And man, the skill set is just so tantalizing. And there's so many different things that they can do with him just as the season goes along, and with the different lineup combinations that you can play with this front court. You're always going to have a elite shooting five-man. Z'll shoot it better than he did tonight. We know that, and what Tommy is. And you can do some things where you just space the five out and you can let him go to work. He's physical. We saw him try to back guys down, is so good at reading the floor. Jackson State sent a double to him at one point in the second half, and he just found Jake Davis for a wide open three. He's just got such great vision, such a great understanding for the game. This is still a 19-year-old freshman. This isn't the 21, 22-year-old Tommy and Mihailo Petrovic that are coming over. This is a young player, and he is just so advanced in what he can do. And man, is he exciting. But yeah, to see Rickhouse have a game like this to start his season is just great to see. He looked really confident out there on the floor. He just got those shots up really effortlessly, really confidently.
Going for dunks, Kyle.
That's the thing.
That's the Benham Rickhouse I want to see.
Yes.
And that's the guy we didn't see last year. I think there's a good player in there. And you saw it come out in times when his shot would fall early. It's like, there it is. But to see him going for them, he didn't finish him, but like to see him going for some of those, tacking the rim, to when guys are closing out on him, that he's got a change up to it. That's the Rickhouse you want to see. That can be a very, very valuable role piece here.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's where I was going, because it's one thing to see him shoot it confidently, but he's feeling himself a little bit when he can do that. And you're going to need that, because if he can shoot it the way that he is, if he can attack some closeouts, he can just be a little bit more aggressive, add a little bit more to his game. We saw in the Illinois State exhibition, they went to a few booty ball possessions with him where he got to a turnaround jumper. There's more to Benham Rickhouse's game. Obviously, he's going to be a floor spacer, three-point shooter, but we've seen glimpses at it throughout his time at Illinois. He just hasn't been very confident enough to unlock some of those things. And we saw that in this game. And it's just great to see that. 5 rebounds tonight. Obviously, you should do that against Jackson State, but he's rebounded it well against 2 lower level opponents. You want to see that carry forward, but a lot of that is confidence too. When he's confident, he's engaged, and you can see him go to the glass a little bit more, which he has so far based on what we've seen. But yes, it's a heck of an encouraging start for this front court. That's the one group that you do have healthy right now outside of Tomislav Ivičić, who missed a little bit of time. He didn't look very restricted tonight. He played a 7-minute stint in the first half consecutively there. So only 23 minutes overall, but he didn't look like he was super restricted. I think by Texas Tech next Tuesday, he'll be full go. If he needs to play 30 minutes, I think he could play 30 minutes in that game. He looked pretty good. So really, really exciting stuff from this front court. And yeah, it's going to be a load for teams to handle offensively, especially.
I'm a fan of Merez Johnson, right? I am. He had 24 points tonight. I'm not going to say like David Mirkovic versus Merez Johnson. I'm not going to do this all year, but he's a better fit. Mirkovic. I did not think that I would be thinking that the first game of the season, after 2 public appearances, because Merez is so good at what he does. He was 10 of 10 inside the arc, shot 2 threes, didn't go in. Mirkovic rebounded better tonight. I think they're very similar rebounders. Merez obviously a little bit more athletic vertically, a powerful player. But when you think about what Illinois wants to be offensively, Mirkovic is a better fit alongside Tomislav Ivičić. Again, we got to see it translate. I think Merez is going to have a fantastic year for Michigan, but I didn't think that Illinois would come out potentially ahead just based on what they need. And like right now, Kyle, I feel like that's a possibility that they could come out ahead after losing Merez Johnson, who I think is going to be a great Big Ten player this year.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing you have to realize. And that comparison is going to be made all year by a lot of different people, and it's valid. And the one thing I would caution is discrediting Merez, because he is a heck of a player. Yeah. He's going to have a great year at Michigan. Saw that tonight, 20 points in the first half. Was doing a lot of different things for Michigan team that, boy, they look really, really tough to guard too with their front court. That's going to be a heck of a matchup in late February.
I picked Michigan second in the Big Ten, and Merez is a big part of that. I think he's going to be phenomenal for them.
But you're absolutely right. Offensively, I think Mirkovic fits what Illinois wants to do better. I think he'll make them more dynamic offensively. And yeah, I mean, if he continues to pass the way that he has, and Illinois continues to use him the way that they have, which why wouldn't you with what he's shown? I think, yeah, you're going to come out on top offensively. I think that the other side is where I think that you're going to see against better competition, against more athletic front courts, against stretch big men. That's where I think you're going to see a difference a little bit. And obviously the rim protection that Merez provided. But offensively, I totally agree with you. I think if Mirkovic is this guy and can carry these performances over against high major competition, which he seemingly did in that Florida scrimmage, I think you're absolutely right. And that's I don't want to make that comparison because I think really, really highly of Merez. It was still a loss for Illinois, but man, I don't think anybody anticipated that Mirkovic would be where he is right now. And that definitely makes you forget about Merez and move on from that a lot quicker.
Yeah. And as Sean brought up, I showed the message here on our chat, the money investment too. Like the fact that you might've gotten, I mean, maybe Tommy and Mirkovic, but at least Z and Mirkovic, probably for the price of Merez. I think that's really key too when you talk about roster building. All right, we'll get to more hits and misses. Send in your super chats. We'll get to those before we get out of here. But first, I want to get to one of our great sponsors for the Illini Inquirer podcast. Last month, we introduced the Game Day Spirit is now on board as a new sponsor of the Illini Inquirer podcast, and they love our show and our audience, you, the listener, so much that they're wanting to extend their opening discount offer with our listeners for yet another week. This couldn't come at a better time with the cold weather starting to show up here in Central Illinois. Now it's a great time to visit GameDaySpirit.com and pick out some new Illini pieces to bundle up for the rest of fall. One of the things I love most about shopping at Game Day Spirit is that they're always bringing in new items. Almost every day, they have something new hit the shelf. In the past weeks alone, they've added new Nike quarter zips, a new brand, Flag and Anthem, go check them out, and more NIL basketball jerseys of your favorite players, Nike military appreciation style bomber jackets, jackets, and more. There's surely no better place to get your Fighting Illini gear than Game Day Spirit. It's where I go to get something for my brother, an Illini grad, every year. So if you're local, visit them at the corner of 6th and Green in Campustown or Neal and Kirby in Champaign, just steps away from State Farm Center and Memorial Stadium, or shop with them 24/7 online at GameDaySpirit.com. And don't forget to take advantage of their exclusive offer for Illini Inquirer listeners. Take 15% off your next purchase online with them when you enter the code Illini15 at checkout. That's Illini15 at checkout at GameDaySpirit.com to save 15% off your next online order. Game Day Spirit, where Illini fans shop. All right, let's dive more into this, Kyle. At one point in the game, I got to be honest, I was sitting there going, maybe the staff needed to build up this freshman, David Mirkovic, a little bit more than what they did with Keaton Waggler. But by the end of this game, I loved what Keaton Waggler did. I'm just a real big fan of his game, and I can understand why the Illini staff is too. 18 points, 4 of 8 from the field, got to the free throw line 10 times, 2 of 2 from 3. The shot is pure. 6 rebounds, I think 4 of them on the offensive side, 4 assists. Do you have any turnovers tonight? You had 2 turnovers, 3 turnovers tonight. So you want to clean up some of that. But I also think he does some little things defensively. He's way better defensively than I thought. Not only using his length, but knows where to be, when to be there. He gets in passing lanes, had a steal early in the game. He plays like he's a sophomore or junior already. So I can see why they like him a lot. So Mirkovic should get all the pub here. But Keaton Waggler just does a lot of things that freshmen usually don't do, and just plays with a lot of poise and IQ.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't think it was a great first half for Keaton Waggler. I kind of came out of that first half saying, man, he still feels just a little timid, and just, he's not super comfortable in what his role is in the offense. He was a little bit uninvolved, and it felt like a couple drives to the rim, he got stripped on one, and he kind of got shut off on a couple others. And then in the second half, he looked like a totally different guy. And he was a lot more assertive, especially late in the game when some of the starters came out, and it was kind of his show to run, really attack the rim, got to the free throw line. He's really mature for as young as he is. And even the 3 turnovers, like none of them were crazy passes or bad decisions. 2 of them were him just getting the ball stripped from him, which is part of the physicality adjustment that it's going to take for him. But Brad Underwood said in the post game, like, Keaton rarely ever throws a bad pass. And for a freshman that has the ball in his hands as much as he does, to really be that trustworthy with the ball in his hands, which we've seen so far, and just so steady, is really, really impressive. And the shot looks really pure. Only attempted 2 threes tonight, but both of them were in rhythm, confident, looks really smooth. I think he has the chance to shoot a really high percentage from 3 this year, and that looks legit. I agree with you defensively. It just feels like he's underrated, and he's not going to make a lot of flashy plays, but his length can be disruptive. He knows how to use it well, and he is underrated on that end. So, yeah, by the end of the night, you look up, he's got 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, really stuffs the stat sheet. I think he's clearly not going to be as flashy and exciting as David Mirkovic, but I think he's going to be really steady. And for a freshman, that is usually not what you get. And that's not to say he's not going to have his tough nights and is going to struggle against some really good defenders that he'll see for in certain matchups. But he just has a calmness and a maturity to his game that even when he's trying to kind of find his place and find his comfort level, and you can see a little bit of that with him. I think that's the one thing that will still come with him, and part of that is just not having some of his backcourt mates out there due to injury. But it feels like he's at the start of games, he's kind of just still not sure where he fits alongside Boswell and alongside Mirkovic, and just doesn't totally know where that is from a comfort standpoint and where he should fit into the offense. But I think as the game goes on, you see him get more comfortable, more confident, and I think we'll see that as the season goes on. But he's just a mature kid for what he is, and you can really trust him with the ball, and he's rarely going to make a mistake.
All right. You got another hit, Kyle?
Yeah, 17 for 37 from three to start the season, 46%. That's a welcome sight after what we saw for last year. And now last year's team had a couple of big time shooting nights early in non-conference play too, but that's a good start. And to see your best shooters make a lot of shots, to see Rickhouse go 5 for 9, Waggler 2 for 2, Jake Davis missed his first two. The first Illinois possession of the game, he missed back-to-back wide open looks, and it's like, oh man, Jake's really got to make these if he wants to get on the floor when Illinois is healthy. And then he made 3 in a row, did end up missing 3, his final 3 for 8 for him. But Thomas Levievicic 3 for 6, Kylan Boswell 2 for 5, David Mirkovic 2 for 4. Just good to see. Good confidence boost early in the season.
Six guys, multiple threes. As you mentioned, Jake, that's an Illini high 13 points. It comes against Jackson State, but still nice to see him in a start make that kind of impact. But sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no worries. You just want to see him make those open looks because he can get a lot of them just spacing around the playmakers that Illinois has. And Illinois just generated so many wide open threes. And part of that is Jackson State, who is a pretty terrible defensive team that doesn't have a lot of answers, made a lot of defensive mistakes. But, man, they generated a ton of shots. They've got the guys to do that. Kylan Boswell created probably 14 open threes. I mean, it's ballparking with his rim pressure and just spraying it out. Probably should have had more than the 5 assists he had because guys missed some wide open ones that he created, and Mirkovic created a bunch, and Waggler created some. I mean, there's a lot of guys that can create and a lot of guys that can make shots, and with the front court you have space in the floor. Saw the Twin Towers lineup play a fair bit in this game, probably out of necessity, but when they did that, it was just Zvonimir Ivicic spacing in the corner as a shooter, and Tomislav on the ball a little bit more, and you just have a lot of really high-level shooting options on this team. We'll see over the course of the season how much better of a shooting team this can be than last year's team, but I think it will be better. I think I can say that confidently, and I just think you've got a lot more shooters on this roster that you can trust, and really almost everybody you put out there is at least a decent three-point shooter that when they get a wide-open look, you can expect them to have a good chance of making it. So a nice start tonight to generate 37 threes and to make 17 of them.
Yeah, not only are they good shooters, they're great passers. They make the extra pass, 23 assists on 40 field goals tonight. That is phenomenal to see, especially when 4 guys have 4+ assists in this game. And Kylan Boswell, underrated game probably. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, just 1 turnover. I thought he was phenomenal defensively. He was number 1 in plus minus tonight at 48. Like, he shut off the water of some of those guards. So
he's an elite defender. I think he said in the preseason he wants to be the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. I think there's a real chance he could be. The only issue is sometimes voters get caught up in the counting numbers and blocks per game, but I think he's as good a defender as anybody in the conference.
Yeah, no, I just thought he had a really, really nice game. I had it for a hit, Boswell's defense. The rebounding has to be on there, right? I know it's Jackson State. You need to dominate the rebounding, but sounds like Florida got them in that exhibition with the rebounding, which concerns you, but if Illinois is not the number 1 front court in the country, Florida probably is. So those are top 5 front courts probably in the country, and they got out rebounded in that game, and it really stuck in Underwood's craw. Well, 61-19, like that's a knockout blow. So, and the thing is it wasn't just Mirkovic with 14. It wasn't just Tommy with 4. Rickhouse had 5. Yeah, Jax is coming with 9 rebounds in 11 minutes. Zvonimir have 9 rebounds in 18 minutes. Of course, those guys are big, but Boswell had 5. Waggler had 6. Jake Davis had 4. Blake Fagbemi had 3. Like, your guards need to get in there and rebound. And I think Boswell can be a really good rebounder, but to see Waggler get in there and get 6, that's really encouraging because you're going to need that.
Yeah, no doubt. Other than Mihajlo Petrovic, I think you have a lot of really good positional rebounding on this roster, which is something that Brad Underwood stresses, or at least the potential to be good positional rebounding. Obviously, a lot of that is effort and emphasizing that for a guy like Waggler and Kylan Boswell. I think Andrei Stojakovic will be in that too. That's a guy that Brad Underwood has talked about really wanting to get the most out of him from a rebounding standpoint. But yeah, just to see, obviously Mirkovic had the 14, but then it's 5, 6, 5, 4, 4, 9, 9 from Jaxtis and Big Z. But yeah, I mean, this is what you should do against Jackson State, but also it's not easy to out rebound any Division I team 61-19. Like that's Houston level stuff, that you're only seeing from teams like that normally. And so just to set the tone early, and Brad Underwood talks about that so much. It's the first thing he said when he came in. The first thing he told his team, he said was, hey, we're not going to make 17 threes every night. How are we going to win when we don't? And it's by rebounding. And that's something, it's a non-negotiable for him. And so a really welcome sight to see that. And that was a question coming into the season with the fact that you did lose Morez Johnson, who was your best rebounder, but you also lost Kasparas Yakichonis, who was an elite guard rebounder, and Trey White, who was one of your best rebounders, plus you lose Ty Rogers to injury. We talked about it on some of our preseason podcasts, like how much of a drop-off will this team have from a rebounding standpoint. There's a long way to go to see what that answer ultimately is, and I still think it's probably going to be tough to get to the level of last year's team, but I think it's still going to be a very good rebounding team, and we know that Brad Underwood is going to live for nothing else. So really encouraging start just to see you physically dominate, 21 offensive rebounds, 26 second chance points. And like you said, to really see it distributed across your roster was a really good tone setter for the season.
All right, we'll come back. We'll wrap up. If Kyle, you have any other hits and misses, I have one fun miss, and then we'll look ahead to the next game against Florida Gulf Coast. If you want to get any super chats in, this is your last chance to do so. But before we do that, I want to do one more of our great sponsors. One of my favorite things about waking up in the morning is coffee, and it's even better if you get it from Columbia Street Roastery. And the best thing to do around the holidays is give coffee. And they got a great way of doing that. Columbia Street Roastery, if you go to csrcoffee.com, they have a subscription box that you can get. Each month, Columbia Street sends you freshly roast coffee of 3 different half-pound bags. You can get from their flavored coffee box, their dark roast, their medium roast, their decaf box, and you can get a subscription for $25 per month. What a great way and what a great gift to give. Or if you want to get something for yourself, go to csrcoffee.com. Check out all their fall flavors, all their great brews, and they also have tea and hot cocoa. So go check them out at csrcoffee.com. And our listeners, you get 10% off your first order if you use the code GOILLINI2025. Again, go to visit csrcoffee.com, get 10% off your first order with the code GOILLINI2025. You get free shipping on orders over $45. That's all at Columbia Street Roastery at csrcoffee.com. All right, Kyle, I have one more miss that I have. So do you have any other hits and misses before I get to it?
Slight miss, free throw shooting, 66.7%. Ended up finishing 16 of 24. Keaton Waggler made some late to boost that number. At one point, they were at 52% from the line. Brad Underwood wasn't super happy with that. I think it'll be a pretty good free throw shooting team. It's kind of, there's some randomness to that. I mean, Tomislav Ivicic misses both that he takes. Kylan Boswell misses an and one. Not a big deal, but that's a very slight miss.
Yeah, Ben Humberkhouse missed a couple, and he pissed himself off. I heard it early on, even through the TV, was able to hear that. All right, one of my biggest misses of the night. I think Blake Fegbemi is a phenomenal athlete for a 6-foot guy, maybe under. If he's with me as the sub 6-foot guys, Brad Underwood called Blake Fegbemi the best athlete he's ever coached. Even if it's pound for pound, that's erroneous. But you coach Terrence Shannon Jr. You coach that man who's one of the most ferocious athletes, most scary athletes I've ever seen on a court with that speed, vertical explosion. But also, if you're going short guys, like Dre Gibbs Lawhorn was just in this program and threw down like a dunk from the free throw line last year. So I'm not trying to take away anything from Blake Fegbemi, who is a great athlete. Like he skied for some rebounds and just so happened to be next to an Ivicic boy who just stole a rebound from him. But that was Brad Underwood hyperbole to lift his guy up. But I get it. It was great. Blake Fegbemi, great story, by the way. To be Truman State commit, to switch to Illinois late in the process after leading Bennett Academy to a state championship, to be playing at Illinois on scholarship and all of it. It's a phenomenal story. And for him to get some playing time, I mean, it's scary if he's doing that against Texas Tech, but pretty good storyline for him early in the season.
He's definitely a lot more impressive athletically than most walk-ons you'll see. Absolutely. But yeah, I would tend to agree. He had a chance. I forget who it was who threw him one, but he had a chance at an alley-oop, but he couldn't come down with it. I think the best athlete ever under Brad Underwood maybe comes down with that one. But yeah, no, it was cool to look. He got a opportunity he probably never thought he was going to get when he committed, and going through the off season just out of necessity. Again, you're right. You don't want that against a week from now against Texas Tech, but. Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's definitely a miss. Impressive walk on for sure, and he's definitely got some talent. But yeah, that's Brad Underwood hyperbole for sure.
To be the 12th or 13th guy on the roster usually takes longer to get your first points in a uniform. So 2 points, 3 rebounds, and assists in your debut, pretty good. AJ Red got on the board with a tough finish at the rim, hit a free throw as well. So good to see those guys get some action. And Jason Jackson's first game in an Illini uniform. He's played preseason, but this is actual first game to have 9 rebounds. I joked on Twitter that, Greg Gard's watching this game being like, oh, who's that guy? Because he just feels like the Wisconsin big man who, when he's in his 4th or 5th year, is going to make an impact on the team. And, for a guy that is probably going to get some not garbage minutes, but some spot minutes when somebody gets in foul trouble, like, I think he can go out there, defend and rebound. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to gain the confidence to be much more offensively than a guy who can dunk at the rim off some great cuts. But that's a guy you could throw out there in a game and use his fouls, use his size, use his physicality. He's gotten much stronger. What's he at? I think 30-something pounds since he's gotten here. So Fletch has done a great job with him. He's a developmental guy. I can see him getting some spot minutes at points this year, Kyle, and eventually being part of that big man rotation in future years, not this year, but future years.
No doubt. Yeah, it's good depth to have, and he definitely looks a lot more ready to play than he did when he got some spot minutes. Well, he didn't play last year, I should say. He redshirted, but just from a physical standpoint, he looks a lot more ready to play, like you said, and you saw some of the physicality tonight. And yeah, he said at media day, like, I'm just whatever I could do to help. If that's rebound, defend, that's where my focus is. He went out there and rebounded the heck out of the ball at a couple really nice vertical contests. Got called for a foul on one that I thought he was pretty straight up on. So did Brad Underwood, and he just comes in and looks comfortable playing a role and is playable depth that you have in your front court, which you hope to not need much based on the depth that you have ahead of him. But we already are seeing the injury issues with Illinois early. You never know what can happen down the line. You never know if 2 of your front court guys get in serious foul trouble in a game. That happens every year, where you just need him to come in and give you 4 solid minutes here or 5 solid minutes there in a game, which we've seen even in the past for guys like, and I think he might be a little bit more involved, but like Brandon Lieb, I remember a game in Minneapolis where Kofi Coburn was just battling foul trouble all day. Brandon Lieb came in, gave you 12 minutes unexpectedly, and just came in and played his role and blocked a shot or two and defended, rebounded. I think that's what Jason Jackson's role is on this team, but he looks a lot more physically ready to play and comfortable playing more physical than he would have last year, based on just what we saw from him from a physical standpoint. So a nice debut for Jason Jackson in a regular season game.
One guy we didn't talk a lot about is Zvonimir Ivasic, 4 points, 2 of 5 shooting, 0 for 3, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks. Very big Z performance. I think we're going to see some ups and downs. There's going to be games he helps you win one. There's going to be games I don't think he makes a huge impact, but that's why it's great to have Tommy and David Mirkovic and Ben Humrickhouse, but Z is going to be an X factor at some point this season. All right. Bigger test, not a big test, but a bigger test for Florida Gulf Coast. They're a better team than you played today in Jackson State. Still favored to win this by, I think it was 25 or 30 I saw on Ken Palm, but Pat Chambers will be on the other side of the bench. For people that don't know, he's now the Florida Gulf Coast coach. This will be his 4th season there. after obviously leaving Penn State. So they're going to have some toughness. They do have some high major transfers, a Notre Dame forward, J.R. Konichi, Richmond transfer guard, and former Michigan guard George Washington III. They got a nice NAIA transfer, Isaiah Malone. They get a couple guys back from last year. So Illinois should still impose their will here. But this will be a little bit better of a team. I think they're 180, 84 in the Ken Palm in his preseason rankings. By the way, Michael Tulip just texted me, Illinois now number 2 offense in the country, number 5 in the Ken Palm. So they've risen a little bit after tonight's dominant performance. But what do you want to see against Florida Gulf Coast? This isn't quite Dunk City like it used to be, Kyle, but a little bit bigger of a test than you had today.
Number one, I would really like to see Andrei Stojakovic play, even if it's in a limited capacity. I think that's important for him. And I understand wanting to be cautious. Ultimately, Brad Underwood said he's going to be game time decisions. They're going to closely monitor him. Brad said that he practiced Saturday and was really good, but was pretty sore on Sunday. So it's clear that he's still not all the way there, but man, you just like to get him on the court in a real game before Texas Tech, assuming that you're hoping to have him for that Texas Tech game. And I'll just come back to that because I think it's really important to just see him out there and see him just finding some comfort in Illinois' offense and finding where he fits alongside all of these playmakers, because he's going to be really important and is going to probably be one of your top scorers when he's healthy. And so I would really, really hope that he can play, even if it's 15 minutes, even if you're really monitoring his stints. He's on a heavy minutes restriction. I think there's just some real value to seeing him on the court against a team like Florida Gulf Coast, where you can play around with things and hopefully not have to worry about that. But I think Florida Gulf Coast will be a better test from a defensive standpoint, which is still some things that I want to see from this team is, we didn't really see a lot of new defensive wrinkles tonight, which I didn't expect that to be the case. You saw them go to a 2-3 zone for a couple possessions, but why do anything different when Jackson State has no prayer of scoring against your man-to-man defense? Like there's no reason to do anything if you're Cam Crocker and just defensively as a team. I doubt you'll see much against Florida Gulf Coast, but just the defensive chemistry and seeing where that is. I don't think we've had a great gauge for really what this team is defensively yet, other than hearing that Florida scored 96 on them in that closed door scrimmage, which again, great offense, but that's really the only gauge we've gotten of this team on the defensive end. I think Florida Gulf Coast will at least be a bigger test from that front than Jackson State was. Like you said, they've got some high major guys. You look on Ken Palm right now, and they're projected a 207th offense. So it's a step up from what Jackson State was. Still, you should still have your way, but that's something that I still want to monitor, is just where is this team at on the defensive end. And you'd love to stack back-to-back good shooting days in a row, and you'd love to just see guys continue to build confidence. But would like to see Stojakovic play a little bit, but I think it should be a game that Illinois handles, but should test them a little bit more than Jackson State was. Wouldn't anticipate them being ahead 30-6 in that game.
Yeah, I think Brad Underwood would like a closer first half, right?
Yeah.
And then pull away. I'm sure he would like to just see how they react to something like that. But for me, it's about, you're right, Stojakovic getting on the court. I just want to see it, whether it's 10 minutes or 12 minutes, whatever it is. I also just want to continue to see the defensive and rebounding intensity I saw today. Like that's what you're going to need against Texas Tech, because you're not going to score quite as at will against a team like that. But they're going to be so much harder to defend than the two teams we have seen them play. So that's the key for me. I want to see that because, man, Toppin, when he comes in, he's something they haven't seen before. So I just want to see him ratchet it up and keep that intensity defensively and rebounding, which we haven't talked a bunch about tonight, just because they were so good offensively, but and probably buried Jackson State right away to where Jackson State was just forcing things up. But I did think Illinois brought defensive and rebounding intensity, and I just want to see that for a second straight game. And I kind of expect it from a team like this, led by Kylan Boswell and Tommy Ivasic and Benham Rickhouse, like guys who have been here. Like they know what the standard should be. And Mirkovic and Waggler, with their poise, IQ, and the way they play, like they've kind of brought it too. So that's been really, really, really encouraging. Any final thoughts, Kyle, before we get out of here?
One last hit or miss, and I think this one is to each person's opinion. Mo Williams rocking the denim jacket hoodie combination. The first time I've ever seen that from a Division I head coach on the sideline. I think that could be a hit or a miss depending on who you ask.
You can pull that off when you're a former NBA player. I don't know if I could quite pull that off. But,
he can pull it off for sure.
I liked it.
I consider it a hit. Yeah, me personally, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I kind of liked it. It's just, it is amazing because like they used to be all suited up, and now like Brad Underwood's always in his quarter zip, and everybody's in those all the time. So when a coach brings something different like that, like that's kind of a casual, but kind of got some business to it, especially if you're in Canada with the jean jacket there. But hey, rock your look, man, and it worked for him. I don't know if Brad Underwood could pull that off though.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought we still are waiting to maybe see what Brad looks like in that orange jumpsuit.
When's he bringing it out? When's he bringing it out?
He's probably going to wait until all of his Balkans are actually on the court and healthy, I would imagine. We don't know when that's going to be, but that's probably. But I don't know. Maybe just one of those sleepy December games, like late December, like the one that's kind of stuffed in between bragging rights and the start of conference play. That might be the time. That
would probably be the time to do it, but he might do it like because Brad can be a little bit of a showman, right? I was thinking, could you do it in Chicago with that game returning against Alabama? Or could you do it at Madison Square Garden on Black Friday? As all these people watch right before they watch football or whatever it is, like you have that before the game. Do you do that up against Danny Hurley and UConn?
Now, see that's the thing right there is it'd be very ambitious to do it against UConn, knowing that if your team loses by 20, that is going to be memed all over the internet, and it's not going to be the greatest look.
But if you win,
it'll be legendary, no doubt.
You're a top 5 AP team just because of that.
Yeah, it's a risk for sure. It's a very big risk to do it against UConn, but I don't know. That's going to be an ongoing storyline throughout non-conference play. When does the orange jumpsuit come out? When does he choose to use to pull it out?
Kudos to him for leaning into it. I love it. All right, for Kyle Tausk, I'm Jeremy Werner. Thank you guys for listening to the Illini Inquirer podcast. Give us a follow, rating, review, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, what's up, guys? Hit that like button, subscribe to us, hit the notifications bell. If you take 10 seconds, do that for us. It really helps us out, helps you out to know when we go live with all of these as well. Your support has been awesome through all of that. Kyle will have player grades. Joey's writing about the front court. We'll have much more on Illinois basketball throughout the week. Got some Illini football recruiting stuff. Brian Doan just had an update on Marlon Bright, the 4-star Penn State offensive line commit. Go check that out at IlliniInquirer.com as well. Just 30% off VIP membership right now as we start crossover season. Again, for Kyle Tausk, I'm Jeremy Werner. Everybody have a great night. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time on the Illini Inquirer podcast.